Oh, I forgot to tell everybody. Welcome to the house medium, by the way. I'm Adele Levite, your house medium, but I also have this wand that I was having fun playing with. Okay, so I have so much to go over with everybody, and we have a cool episode I think you guys are going to enjoy. And before we get that, we got to go into the Medium Brew Cafe because I have so many things to go over with you guys. So let's go into the Medium Brew Cafe. First of all, happy Halloween. I hope your Halloween was not happy Halloween. Happy post Halloween. Hope you had a great Halloween. Mine was very chill. Although this month I did 3 seances and I went to Utah. What's up, Utah? And I did a seance there. I think they were a little surprised. And I did readings there and I had swig. Okay, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it because I'm very excited. So if you're not in Utah, see, I have a bunch of things we have to talk about. If you've watched the show Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, they have these stories, the wig, thirst, fifth, I think. And shout out to Jason. Hi, Jason. He came to my seance and he said, Adela, I got to take you to Swig. And at first I was like, okay, cool. This sounds kind of weird. What it is that they take soda, they put like different flavors in it, half and half, coconut, whatever, like milk. And they create like almost like what you do to iced coffee, they do to soda. Okay, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. Seventh-day Adventist, you're not allowed to drink caffeine. But that's all caffeine. That means soda and coffee. Apparently, in the Mormon world, soda's fine. But everyone, it's amazing. I was craving it. So Jason was like, what size do you want? And I said, I'll get a 16 ounce. He's like, that's not a lot. And I was like, really? Because that's a lot to me. He's like, no. It goes up to 44 ounces. After I got the 16 ounce, I was like, you know what? Now I wish I got the bigger size. I think the next size is 22 ounces or something. Anyway, it's so good. If they had one of these here in LA, I definitely know people would just be adding a little adult beverage. A little bit. So, Utah people, tell me in the comments here on my YouTube channel or on my podcast, do you add a little adult beverage to yours? Because I know I would. Just saying. Anyway, that I just had to let everybody know. Shout out to Utah. Thank you for coming to everything. It was really awesome. Look forward to me and Autumn are going to be having some special announcements of things we're going to be doing. She is one of the owners. She co-owns the Rabbit Hole Wellness in Utah, and we have some things planned. So that's one thing I wanted to say. Wanted to also let everybody know for an extra bonus episode for my Patreon people only, I went to a cemetery with my kiddo who does not like social media or don't like to be seen, barely likes to be heard. So I'm only posting it on my Patreon. But that also was my plan anyway, because it's like 20 minutes. You can watch the video. It's very raw footage because I wanted it that way. I didn't overly produce it on purpose. I didn't want to like take out all the little flaws. I was looking for light. It was dark. I wanted you to feel like you were experiencing it with us. So I hope you liked it. I hope you watch it. It's on Patreon for all my Patreon members. If you're not a member, join. This is a great way to support what I do. I would love if you did. It really supports the work I do. And it's 20 minutes. You can see the video. What I do is I go through the cemetery. I see which tombstone I'm drawn to, and even my kiddo was like getting ones that he wanted me to look at. I see what I see as far as what the spirits are telling me, and then we go over and reread, and it has some really cool outcomes. If you have already watched it, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more on my next speed readings on my Patreon, a little bit of information that I wanted to fill in for people. So go check it over there. Yeah, I'm going to have speed readings on my Patreon. That should be posted by the time you hear this podcast. So go check out your speed readings. See, I do a lot of things, and then I'll be doing a class that I will be posting for those of you who are in the sacred tier. I'm so sorry I didn't get to the Q&A. I think I'm going to have to do a Q&A for 2 classes at once. But I think because it was the month of October, I was slammed with all the October things. So I hope you understand. Okay. Also wanted to let everybody know 50% off of my readings with the code Halloween. It might have been expired by now, but since I'm announcing it, I'm obviously going to probably extend it. Especially if you are listening to this podcast, you might be the only ones. I may not advertise it on Instagram. So go take advantage because it will be a 1-day flash. Because I really was only running this until Monday, and this podcast comes out every Tuesday. So you will know this will be a 1-day flash for you to utilize that code Halloween for 50% off of my readings. I wanted to kind of talk about, I know everybody's nervous because this podcast is coming out on election day. And I talk about what I see, what I feel on my TikTok and on my Instagram. But I want you to know that the dead, yes, they're very aware of all of the nerves that you're going through, all of the things people are feeling. They're very involved, more than you think. And they have opinions and they have feelings, and they do believe in helping us through this change. If you want to know more about what I said, go ahead and go to my TikTok. I post about it there. I post about it on my Instagram, but I will tell you that light wins. Now, here's the thing about the future. The future is always shifting according to things that we're doing. So the decisions we're making, the things we're doing, our future shifts. So during this whole time, I've been constantly looking. I have some friends that are always texting me, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? I don't like to get too heavily political, to be honest, because I feel like people who utilize that, our gifts in that kind of way, are kind of interfering with the world and what we're doing. But I do a little bit in a sense of kind of seeing the big picture of what I foresee and how the future and the collective conscious is moving towards. So I do talk about that. I posted a video on that on my TikTok, and a little I did post on my Instagram, but I go a little more longer on my TikTok. Here's why people on TikTok tend to have more patience to watch a little bit. Believe it or not, even though I know TikTok's really fast, people kind of are starting to use TikTok like YouTube, if that makes sense. But I just want everybody to know that the worlds do collide, they do connect, and that world is very aware. So if you're having certain feelings about it, talk to your people on the other side, tell them what you need help with. But they do have been telling, if you've been listening to me for a while, since 2020, I've been saying that we are progressing, we're moving forward, and that is what we're doing, because that is what that world has told me. Okay, so I wanted to end this with a little
time for paranormal gossip.
I just love that. Can we hit it again?
Time for paranormal gossip.
Paranormal gossip. Okay. Everyone, run and watch if you want to distract yourself from our world and the things that are going on, and you just want to get involved in some weirdness. Go watch Manhattan Alien Abduction. Okay. This is a story of a woman who claims that she was abducted right out of her Manhattan home, meaning a tall rise building that she went right out her window up into a spaceship that hovered over Manhattan. Okay, listen. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say this. It's a little iffy. Just saying, Linda, because Linda's the person. Now, the cool thing about this weird kind of documentary, because it's a documentary that's like 3 episodes. They keep doing this on shows. They call them documentaries, but they're not really they're docu-series. And it's 3, and I do happen to know, living in LA, that sometimes when you sell something, they will only buy it like, oh, let's buy the idea of it, or let's do a little bit of it, and then we'll see if people are into it. Then sometimes they'll do something longer. But anyway, it's the wife of, okay, I always forget his name. Hold on, I'm going to look it up. I always forget his name. He's a very well-known ufologist and, expert in, UFOs and stuff. Let's see, the abduction, the Manhattan. What's his name? It's Bud. Why do I keep forgetting? Bud. What's your name again? Yeah, so what it is the wife, she filmed everything. He did past life regression, okay? And that was his thing, doing past life regression. And he really believed in these like abductees and what happened to them. So he did his whole life about this. Why aren't they like, I'm reading this and you would think like, since this is this guy's work, why isn't his name just pushing out? Like, why isn't it not just right away? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, come on, like, this is his work. Why isn't his name? Okay, this is bothering me now. But anyway, his wife was involved when he started kind of researching all this stuff. And this woman named Linda, she has a story. And she's like, and I'm still looking, everyone, because it's super, super annoying. Bud Hopkins, there we go. Bud Hopkins. It's a very well known, if you listen to the BCC boys, they talk about Bud Hopkins all the time. But it's starting to come out that people are going, maybe he led people in these past life regressions. I'm staring into the camera for those of you watching. Yeah, that's what I feel about past life regressions, that they tend to lead people and kind of, plant things with people, and it's a problem. So this woman read his book, and then she's like, oh, you know what? I remember I had this thing happen to me. So here's the thing. They thought they got proof because while she knows Bud, and now Bud's like thinking, oh, wow, I got like my golden ticket. She's like, she has this amazing, she says this happened to her. All of a sudden, she had this other thing happen to her, which she's like taken out of her Manhattan home. And he's like, oh my God, bingo. There's 23 witnesses. But the wife of Bud, who really believed in him and believed in his work, started to get suspicious because the story just gets wilder and crazier and like way out there. Like, not way out there like we believe in aliens and things can happen. Way out there in the sense of like, now she's being followed and she's being kidnapped by, Secret Service, or not even Secret Service, by police officers. It just gets wild. You just got to watch. So Linda, who is the abductee, and I'm doing air quotes for you don't see me, she is like, this happened to me, bitch. Literally, that's kind of what her attitude. And the woman's like, I don't believe you, his wife. And she's kind of like, I hate to say this. And she does, you really believe she loved him. She believed in him. But she's like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe he was in on it. So the whole thing is about whose side do you see? And I could tell you what I see. I believe Bud's wife. I really do. She has much more of a grounding. There's something about the way she talks, the way she presents herself. It feels very, very like more real. And Linda seems a little bit like she took an opportunity. But go watch it. You gotta go watch it. It's gonna take you no time because it's literally 3 episodes. I think it's 2 hours, 3 hours, if that. You can watch it pretty quickly if you're a binge watcher. But it's really fascinating because these women are like going at each other. But they're not in the same room. They're watching each other's interviews going at each other. And the thing about Bud Hopkins is that it starts to get suspicious because here's the clincher. He wrote a book called Witness. And she's filming all of this, him going to the agent, pitching the agent, getting so excited. He's like, oh, this is going to be the bestseller. And that's where it gets fishy. Because you're like, you really wanted to sell this and make it into a movie. And it seems like something like, if you really are in this just to tell the world the truth, you don't need to like push making it into a movie and into like a book and all this. So it gets a little strange. And this is what aliens always say, at least to me when I have talked to them. Human beings can't help themselves but let their ego get in the way. And this is why they have a hard time connecting with us. Just saying, we get corrupted easily. So go watch it. All right, let's go outside and go listen to our story from Paul. Paul is a returning he's returning. He had been on my podcast before, and he's now returning once again to share an update of some other things that happened to him and his wife. Hi, Adela. This is Paul. I was the house guest on your January 30th podcast. I was a person who lived in a home built on my great-grandfather's farm property that my grandparents raised my father in. First, I'd like to thank you for the reading you gave my wife on September 11th. It was her birthday and I had booked it as a present. 9/11 is not the greatest date to have a birthday, but getting the chance to hear from her mother was a great comfort to her. I thought I would share an update with you. After the podcast, Maura and I sat in our living room and addressed the spirits present. We told them our family and friends were always welcome, but anyone we didn't know we'd ask to leave. We also made an effort to put out some more pictures of my side of my family to acknowledge them. My wife's family takes pictures of every event. Most of my family are the people hiding in the back trying not to appear in the frame. Things were quiet for several months after, but lately there seems to be an uptick. Maura occasionally suffers from migraines. A few weeks ago, she had a bad one, so I let her sleep in our room while I went and watched TV in our family room. The family room was at the bottom of a small staircase. Twice while I was down there, I heard someone step on the first couple of steps as though they were coming into the room from upstairs. I looked both times, expecting to see Maura coming down to see me. Both times there was no one there. Maura slept through the entire evening at night, never leaving our bed. Don't ask me why, but a lot of the activities seem to revolve around our bathroom. A few weeks ago, I heard Maura say, "Paul?" I was in our bedroom. We don't have an attached bathroom. I got up and walked down the hallway to the bathroom, and she was looking out the door. Apparently, the door opened on its own. She had said my name because she thought it was me coming in. As a man in his 50s with kidney stone issues, I drink a lot of water and usually have to go to the bathroom at least once in the night. 2 separate times in the last few weeks I have gotten up and Maura's toothbrush has been buzzing in our medicine cabinet. I would say she forgot to turn it off, but it's not rechargeable. If it had been running constantly for the 4 or 5 hours since we had gone to bed, the battery would have been depleted. On the other side of the hallway from the bathroom, in the room we call the study. I guess you could call it my man cave. I collect books based on old TV shows and movies, 50s, 60s, and 70s, sci-fi books, Hardy Boys books, Sherlock Holmes books, and James Bond's books, but most are used, so I often wonder, is there any emotion or something attached? They are all on display there. About a week ago, I got up in the night and my TV was on in the study with Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, playing from one of my old streaming services. Odd, because even when it was first run, I've never seen an episode of that show. I would have not been in any of my queues. Which brings me to today and the inspiration for sending this update. I leave for work early than my wife and I get home early. I got home today about 4. Maura leaves the house about 7:50 a.m. I came in, put down my mail, and walked upstairs. As I got near the bathroom, I heard the buzzing again. Maura's toothbrush was running. It had left it. If she had left it on, it would have been running for at least 8 hours. That's funny, I thought, and walked into my study and turned on the TV. The TV itself had been off, but the streaming player attached was on. Wait. Let me read this. I walked into my study and turned on the TV. The TV itself had been off, but the streaming player attached was on and running, playing Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. This spirit likes Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, on a live stream, not on demand. Twice my TV has shown the same show that I have never watched and completely different times of the day. This time paired with the toothbrush running. The thing that really strikes me is the repetition. It's like they say in science, it's not true until it's replicated. I hope all is well with you. I think of you like a 911 operator. You help us, but rarely get to hear what happens after the call. I thought you might enjoy hearing a follow-up. Take care, Paul. Well, Paul, we ended up having Paul come on, or I guess me in the spirit world. I ended up deciding to have Paul back on because I wanted to hear it from him. And last time I didn't get to do video with him. So I wanted to bring him on and say, okay, what's going on? Let's see what's going on. So let's hear what I had to say to Paul. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the House Medium. We're going to continue on with Paul's email. You heard me read his email, and I have him here. Hi, Paul.
Hi,
How
how
are
are you?
you?
Oh, great.
Okay.
And
So we have a lot to go over in the sense that we want to kind of catch people up first with if you didn't hear, Paul was on this podcast before. He had a different episode, but it's the same subject matter, so to speak, because it's the same house that he lives in. So for those of you who might have not heard that episode, we're going to catch everybody up a bit on what that episode was and a little bit about your house. So in the first episode, where you were on before, things were going on in the house, and it was mostly are you in the same room that you were in that time we recorded?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Hmm.
And it's upstairs, right? If I recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's just do a synopsis. So a little synopsis of why you called in last time, not called in, but wrote in. I'm like, hello, I'm coast to coast. No. That's a that's what I kind of emulate this show based off of. Do you ever listen to Coast to Coast?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The best, the best. I mean, 2 a.m. in the morning, driving. I would be driving down a dark road, and it's hearing people's stories. It was awesome,
Right.
and they were
Aliens
just
and
cold calls.
Yep, aliens and shadow people.
Yep,
2 o'clock in the
aliens
morning.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he would get very excited about everybody, any story. So he was awesome. Okay, so let's go over real quick, your last story and what was going on. Just remind people and what we concluded at the end.
Well, we had a couple incidents where it was all just little things.
Right.
My wife was in our bathroom once, brushing her teeth and everything before bed,
Mm-hmm.
and or actually, I guess I was in the morning, and the light switch went off.
Right.
And we had been having storms and electrical problems uh, at the time, and she thought the power had gone off, but she went outside, and every other room in the house had lights on, and we tried to make the light switch sit in an area where it would just spontaneously go one way or the other, but it's a
But
very
have you noticed your lights going bright and then dark, bright and then dark?
no.
Is that just the
I think that just might be the camera for the
is that the camera? Okay.
yeah.
I have to mention these things, Paul, because I will get emails
Oh, okay.
saying while he was talking, the light was going. Okay, so we want everyone to know this is because it's not, if you turn around, is your light going dim and bright, or is it the same?
No, it's the same.
Okay, so
It's the
everybody
same.
watching and everybody listening, nothing's happening. Okay, go ahead. It's the
And
camera.
yes, I do have a Christmas tree behind me. My wife's put it
Oh,
up today.
yay! You know,
So
you need it, right? You need a little cheer, a little
yeah.
like, right. I totally get it. I totally get it. Okay. Okay. So yes, I remember. Didn't something break? Didn't like something break in the bathroom? Or am I imagining that?
Uh no, that wasn't us. It was
That wasn't you. Okay. Okay.
mhm,
Because it's a similar story with the bathroom. Okay. So nothing broke. It was just the lights going on and off. Okay. 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 Go
right.
ahead. And I
Um
remember something, other things are coming back to me, but go ahead. You tell it.
and then probably the two incidents that prompted us to get in contact with you. Uh, One time, I was just lying in bed, and it was at night, and I had the feeling that somebody else was in the room. I can't
Okay.
describe it, just that somebody else was there.
Okay.
And I was just looking around. I couldn't see anything. The odd thing was my wife was dead asleep, and she just got up, looked around for a second, and then went right back to sleep. It was as though she sensed it as well. Now, the next morning I asked her about it, she didn't even remember doing that, but it was just odd that it was uh, both of us seemed to notice something at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time when I was asleep, my wife saw, I guess what you describe as a hat man, a shadow person with it. She described it as like a top hat,
Right.
and
Okay.
they came in and sort of stood next to the bed, right next to her,
Mm-hmm.
and she just sat there for a few seconds, and then it sort of faded away. Um, and then she woke me up, and I didn't see anything. The house was locked up. There was no, we couldn't figure out anything with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was one time when I had the sense of someone being like right above me. Again, I had that feeling. Now I would think like sleep paralysis or something like that, except I could move, and I just made a gesture side to side like that. And once I did that, the feeling was gone, and there didn't seem to be anything else in the room.
Okay.
Um, just little noises and things like that. And again, um, my son's away at college now, so we're semi empty nesters. So we
Yeah.
were just thinking it might have been something like that, but just nothing that would make a horror movie, but just
Mm-hmm.
odd things going on.
And then what did we conclude? What was the what did I say to you? See for
Well,
you guys.
my house is actually my grandparents have been the first ones to live here,
Yeah.
and we're on the property of a farm that my great grandparents had, and
Mm-hmm.
my parents are next door. The whole family's been here,
Right.
and we kind of concluded that my great grandfather was, the person that was, you know, trying to contact us. And it's very possible because my family is the kind that we don't take pictures. There's not a lot of things about my family here.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's family, on the other hand, is they're taking pictures every 2 seconds. So a lot of the family acknowledgement around the house is hers, not mine.
Was there a history to the land that I saw, or was that not part of it?
Just that it had been in my family for, my great grandparents had come.
But
Um,
nothing happened on the land.
no, no,
Okay. 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 So like, yeah, you guys all live in the same vicinity. Okay.
right. And
On the
my
same
grandfather
land.
did pass away in this house, but
Okay. And then okay, so it was mostly me seeing your grandfather probably trying to get a hold of you guys. That's, the in all the little different things that were happening. Okay. So
mhm.
what have you been experiencing since then? Let's
Well,
go over because your email. Well, let me sorry to interrupt you, Paul, but I'm gonna take you through it. So this next email. So it's almost been a year because it was January 30th. You said, right? So
Yes. Hmm.
almost a year.
Almost.
Um, okay, so then in September 11th, it's her birthday, and you're like, that's always hard for people who have those birthdays. But you're sitting in the living room, and you decided to address the spirits. Is that what happened?
Oh, that was before that, yes, but
Oh, before that.
that was right after we had talked, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I one night when we both were home from work, I just said, "Well, we should probably just do this." So we sat in our living room, had everything off, and just sat there and addressed everyone. We just addressed and said, family members and friends are always welcome, but if there was anybody here that we didn't know, we just, respectfully asked them to leave.
Okay.
And we like acknowledged my grandfather and my great grandfather, and we've since put up a few pictures that we found of them, um,
Okay.
and it seemed to have quieted everything for several months.
Okay. And I see the September 11th birthday was like I did a reading for her. Is that what
Yes,
you?
yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
awesome. Okay, good. And she liked it?
Oh, she loved it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm so I think we did a mediumship reading
Yes,
with her.
yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Okay. So after the podcast, so you guys decided to do that, then things were quiet for several months. Okay. Then so your wife suffers from migraines, right?
Hmm.
And so she had a bad one, so she slept. So I let her sleep in our room while you were watching TV, and then the family room is at the bottom of a small staircase. So twice you were down there, you heard someone step on the first couple of steps. So why don't you describe that incident?
Yeah, I had uh, our house is kind of a split level,
Okay.
so from the bedroom down, there's some steps, and then you just make a turn and then go down some more steps into our family room. And I heard someone, the kitchen's connected to the family room, and I heard someone kind of into the kitchen and then take a couple steps down the steps. And then I looked up and there's no one there.
Oh,
And as
okay.
soon as I looked up the steps, it was quiet. And that happened twice that same night.
That same night.
Hmm.
Okay. And did you feel like somebody was, besides hearing the steps, did you feel like that feeling where you're turning around to talk to someone, not just from the noise, but you know how you could feel someone's physical energy in the room?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly. I can't describe the feeling other than that I felt there was someone there.
Yeah, that's about right. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Okay. I ask these questions because in case anyone's like, "Oh, it could be this," because feeling is a very big part of recognizing paranormal activity. It's not just like people always get caught up in what they physically have to see or experience, but there's often times where you could have just felt someone and not even hear the footsteps, and you're like, I feel like someone's right here. Someone's right next to me. And so that can even like let you know, but the fact that you had both is
Yeah, it was
important.
exactly the same feeling I had when in the bedroom earlier, when I felt that there was somebody there and my wife woke up
Right.
for a moment. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so a few weeks ago, then you, after that, but don't ask me why, but a lot of activity seems to revolve around our bathroom. That I'll
Hmm.
explain. It's very common, and I'll explain why. It's also why I even have like a weird thing about bathrooms, meaning my bathroom has to feel right because, and in hotels or restaurants. So just so everybody knows before we get into it with Paul, my experience of people of houses and bathrooms and even in public locations is people do a lot of private things in the bathroom like cry, people like harm themselves. There's a lot of energy, and so sometimes there's a lot of things that might have happened in that bathroom prior to you, which is why like even if I go into a restaurant or a public place, weirdly, I can feel more in the bathroom. One. two, it has to do with the water, and spirits use water as an electrical energy, just the same as they use electricity as electrical energy to maneuver around with. Basically, since they are electricity, they kind of use that as a conduit to
Okay.
move around. So there's two reasons why, but we're going to look at which is yours. It could be both, it could be one of them. Okay. So a few weeks ago, you heard Morris say Paul. So you heard your
Hmm.
wife.
Yes.
Okay. So can you describe that? And sounds like so far this is happening mostly to you.
Well, it happens to me, but I'm present. Or I'm sorry, it happens more to my wife, but I'm present when it happens. She was
Oh, okay.
she was in the bathroom and I was in our bedroom. Now we don't have an attached bathroom, it's a couple steps down the hall.
Okay.
And I was just lying in bed reading and I heard her go like, Paul, and I thought she was calling me. So I got up and walked over and she was looking around outside the bathroom and she said, did you just come into the room? And I was like, no, I was in the bedroom. And she said someone opened the door and like unlatched the door and opened it.
What?
And
Wait, hold pause, Paul. Are you talking about like unlatch where like what kind of unlatching
just
happens
a
on that door?
just a doorknob,
So someone like turned the doorknob.
turned the doorknob
Okay. We're
and the
moving up
door
in the
opened.
paranormal activity. Okay.
And she thought, she thought I was out there. And I said, no, I just heard you when you called my name.
Okay.
So, and again, there was nothing, and it's the same bathroom where the incident with the light switch had happened.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I would say when if the doorknob is turning and opening the door,
mhm.
that's like a level 7, 6 or 7 paranormal activity. I have my own rating system. I don't go by everyone else's rating system. My rating system can go all the way to 100 if it needs to. Because I've heard someone say, I've never heard people. I'm like, it's mine. It's my rating system because I know what is capable of happening. And I think other people don't know what's capable of happening, if that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
I know like those type of things are not as high as people might think, even though that's pretty much in your face trying to get your attention. Okay. I just had like a flash, so I'm gonna push that back and I'll get back to you. So at the same time of the door opening, then you're having your own experience of thinking she's calling you. Your
Right.
wife's calling you. Did it sound like her voice, or did you just go, It could only be her because I'm here and it was a woman's voice, though?
It was a woman's voice. It was, I think it was her. I think she like looked out and like asked whether it was me or not.
Sorry, everybody, I have a seed for my. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So it was her calling you.
I believe it was, yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
that woman's voice we don't think was a paranormal thing, just a door
No, no.
opening. So you hear her calling you like, "What the hell's going on? I'm a little freaked out." Okay. Okay. So you also another bathroom incident. You have to go at least twice a night, which is we all know as we get older that's
Yep.
normal. Um, I don't know what's wrong with me because I've been this way since a kid, and then it just like I've amplified. It kind of feels like it's been amplified because when I was little, my brothers and stuff used to make fun of me because I just I guess I have a small bladder. I don't know. I feel like it's been worse though as you get older.
It
Okay,
does.
so two separate times in the last few weeks, um, you've gotten up and her toothbrush has been buzzing in your medicine cabinet. Okay, so let's go over that so we can demand, kind of take apart any possibilities of other things. So, can you describe what happened to you with that?
Yep. in our bathroom we have a medicine cabinet, and it's two closed doors. The doors have mirrors on them. They're right over the sink.
Mhm.
And on the right hand side, there's a divided cup that Maura has her toothbrush in, and I have my toothbrush in.
Right.
So the doors were closed. The toothbrushes were in their each little divider, and I came in and I heard like a buzzing sound, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And it was warm enough that our window was open, so I was looking outside to see if there was something outside.
Mhm.
Couldn't figure out the sound, and then I opened the medicine cabinet, and her toothbrush was running. Now her toothbrush is in that divided cup, so it wasn't touching anything. It was just standing up straight in it. And again, I would have said that it's possible, she just put it in and went to bed and, didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But it had been running. We had gone to bed like 4 or 5 hours earlier. So it would have been constantly running for 4 or 5 hours, and it only has a little AA battery in it. It
Right,
definitely would
right.
have been depleted by then.
Right.
So it must have turned on
Just turned
sometime
on.
uh, between when
Okay.
we went to bed and again it was in the cabinet,
Right.
and that's
Okay.
happened twice now, and we haven't changed the battery. So again, it would have been um, 8 total hours if it had just been she had forgotten to turn it off and put it in.
Right, because it would have been buzzing the whole time.
Right.
And you've checked the toothbrush and it isn't like maybe a glitch in the toothbrush or something. There hasn't been other times it's done this. See, this is what's tricky about these sort of things because, and I'll explain in a minute, or I'm going to explain to everybody that the spirit world uses what we have. I think people don't understand that they just use what we have available. So like I have this light that I have, that you have to like turn on those little like they're like little Halloween lights instead of Christmas lights, so but they're just orange and you have to like turn it on for them to go on. And twice it's happened to me that they just turn on. And I know that there's a way you can do a timer, but I think it's not it's a timer to like turn off, not to turn on. Like you
Right.
can't time it to turn on. So this happened to me yesterday. I was sitting there and I literally think I was talking about light or something and the light turned on. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay. And then it, stayed on all night and turned off. This morning I kept watching it. Are you going to turn on at the same time? Is this like a time thing? And it did not. Still hasn't turned on all day. So it's not like this is so sophisticated. Trust me, it was like $10 or something that it's like every other day we turn. No, it's a 12-hour. No, 24 hour. No, I'm like, someone's messing with this light. And that's kind of the thing is that whenever you have these things happen and you kind of rule out the logic, it's not that you can't say something logical can't happen, but when you're like, this is just like odd, it's not consistent. If
Right.
you have like a broken lamp, it's consistently doing the same thing. If you have something with your TV and oh, I got to like do a little wiggle wiggle, it's consistent. But whenever it's paranormal, it's not as consistent. That's what people got to know. That's the message I want to put out to everybody. It will happen at odd times. It almost happens at odd times to grab your attention even. It's like that light could turn on, right? For me, I don't have to be sitting there. I could just come downstairs and it's on. I probably wouldn't notice it because it's kind of off in the corner. You know what I mean? But I feel like whatever did it, who's ever doing it, wants me to. I'm sitting right there. And that's the same with the toothbrush. Like they're trying to get your attention. Like you said, if it was on during your sleeping, you probably wouldn't even notice it. So
Right.
it's something, this is what people got to know. They do these things to grab your attention on
and
purpose.
and the thing is, it happened twice within 10 days, but
Right.
it's never did it before,
Never did it
never did it
before.
after.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like, I don't think I was, we did readings in Utah. Did my husband say, oh, I was sitting there and the light turned on? No, of course, it was when I got home and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden, ding, Anyway, I know what you're saying. Okay. So on the other side of the hallway, the bathroom is a room we call the study. And
That's the
we
room
call
I'm
it
sitting in right
that
now.
that this is your man cave that you're in
Yep, this
now.
is what I'm
Okay.
sitting in now.
It's a very nice man cave, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
It's very gentlemanly. If you guys are listening and you can't see, he has all this cool 1950s. You have all this like memorabilia stuff.
Yeah,
It's painted really
bookcases.
nice, bookcases. He's classy man cave. Sci-fi books, Hardy Boys books, Sherlock Holmes, and all of that, right? And TV shows and movies. So it's like you like the collective old movies, old books type of thing. We're
Yes.
giving everyone the vibe who isn't able to, because this will be on YouTube, but if you're listening, so most are used. So you often wonder if there's any emotion attached. And by the way, yes, there is. Like that is a thing. People kind of leave their energy. If you ever go to an antique shop, I've got way before I understood how I was built. I would go to an antique shop and I could pick up like a jewelry and I would just feel like, and I didn't know why I knew this then. I just thought I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, being like romanticizing it. I didn't know, but I was like, oh, I feel like this old lady, she used to look like this and dress like this, and she wants me to have her earrings, so I'm going to get them, stuff like that. So I kind of feel that's very true.
Yeah, especially I just got a book. It was an old children's book, Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators. And
Oh,
when I opened it up, it looked like a little girl had written her name in it in pencil, and it was
uh,
probably 1973 or something like that. You
yeah,
could tell she kind of treasured that book. And
that book,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Okay. So I got up in the night. My TV was on in the study with Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, playing from one of my streaming services. So take us through what happened there.
Well, I just came in, and the the door was open, so when I left my bedroom, I could see the light coming
Mm-hmm.
in, and I came in, and Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, was on, and I know I had turned that TV off,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a streaming player. So it was on one of the streaming services, just playing this random show. And like I said, I had never wasn't my bag, so I'd never really watched that show.
I was about to
It was
ask you, are you into Dr. Quinn, medicine woman?
Nope, never
No.
seen an episode. I mean, I love old
Interesting.
TV shows, and that one's just one I missed.
It's just not your thing. It sounds like you like investigations and things like
Yep,
this.
yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So the TV was just on and it was on a particular streaming service, which is important. And the TV was completely off prior, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. All right. So I still feel like it's weird the way your camera's going because it's kind of unusual. Have you had this experience before where it
Um,
goes dark and light and then dark and light when you've been filming?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
I mean, we have to acknowledge it, Paul. It's a little different.
Yeah.
Are you sure that it's you tell us you're looking at the light, it's not dimming?
No, not to me.
Okay. So maybe what would cause the camera to do that though?
No, I'm not sure. Is
Exactly.
it?
It's a little strange.
I don't know.
Like it just keeps going light, dark, light, dark. It just keeps see, now it's
Well,
brightening up
maybe I'll
again.
point the camera a little differently.
Yeah, let's experiment. This is how we kind of rule out things.
Hmm.
So this is good. This is good for people to see in real time. We're gonna experiment and see if the camera is nicer now that we moved it. Okay. Which brings me to okay. So anyway, oh sorry. So the TV, yes, that's a very common thing. Turning on the TV. I would say that's paranormal. In my house, it happens so often that I forget that it's still weird for people. But I would say that's like around 4 or 5. Not to no, it's still doing it, Paul. It's still doing the dark light thing. Have you ever had this happen before?
No, no.
Okay, well, we need to acknowledge this because it's a little strange. Do you
Yeah,
feel
I'm
anything?
not noticing it here, but
Do you feel anything right now, or does it just feel like fine in the room?
it feels pretty
Fine?
normal. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so which brings me to today and the inspiration for me sending the update. You leave for work earlier than your wife, and you got home at about 4, and she leaves at 7 a.m. Wait, you leave for work earlier than my wife, and you get home earlier? You got home at 4 that night. Okay. I came in, put my mail down, and so walk upstairs. As I got near the bathroom, I hear a buzzing. Okay, so that's the next toothbrush thing.
Right, right. That was the
Okay.
second time. So the toothbrush was going off, and then I the bathroom and the study are across the hall from each other. So the
Okay.
toothbrush, I can hear it buzzing in the bathroom, and I look over here and I see the light again in the study, and I walk over and Dr. Quinn, the medicine woman, is playing on
It's
the
playing
TV again.
again.
Hmm.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it was like a combination of the two weird things that happened at the same time.
I like your saying of the thing that really strikes me is the repetition. It's like what they say in science. It's not true until it's replicated. That's what I was saying. If it repeats, but it's not like consistently the same, repeating is true. But if it's not like, oh yeah, at 5 o'clock that always happens. I think it's the like, when everyone gets home and things like that is what we look for that makes sense, like what we're saying. But if it's something that's happening again, um, then it's happened a few times and it's happening random. And by the way, now Paul is completely like in the dark. Not dark, dark, but decided to just stop even making the lights like go light and dark. This is very
Yep,
interesting.
here we
Oh,
go.
what the hell?
I
Okay.
can see it in the screen, but I can't
You
see it.
yeah, it's kind of trippy considering what we're talking about. So I have to acknowledge it. Okay, so I like how you said I'm like a 911 operator. Hello, I'm like Ghostbusters. That's what I always tell people. I'm like the real life Ghostbusters. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's go. I'm gonna go. We're gonna go
Oh,
into it. Oh, yes. Go ahead. Oh,
I
something else happened. Go ahead.
yeah, something else happened since that email,
Okay.
so I
Sure.
wasn't sure if you wanted to
Yeah. Yeah.
me to
Yeah.
bring that up now.
Definitely.
Okay, so I was in bed. Maura was in bed. We were both asleep, and I know I was pretty deep asleep because I was dreaming. I don't remember
Okay.
what I was dreaming, but I was dreaming,
Okay.
and I was very deep asleep. And this is like women will come up to men and adjust their collar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something men should not go up and address women's clothing. Um, so I was lying in bed and I had pajamas on that had a collar on it,
Okay.
and I'm asleep and I had that distinct feeling that someone came up behind me and fixed my collar. So it woke me up. It brought me out of my dream. I was
Right.
completely awake. I was about to say something to Maura, like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
3 o'clock in the morning. Why are you adjusting my collar?
Right. I don't need to look,
Right.
perfect.
And I looked over at her, and she was on her side, facing away from me and dead asleep. So someone had adjusted my collar on my pajamas, woke me up completely, and that's that's the only time it ever really got to the point of like kind of fear and
Yeah.
um, really hit. Everything else had been just like, huh, that's odd. This one kind of got me that, something's going on. I looked around the room again. I did not see anything. I didn't see the shadow person Laura had seen or anything like that. It was just, but it was so, it was such a familiar feeling of a collar being adjusted that, and it wasn't part of my dream or anything else. It, like I said, it brought me straight out of the deep sleep to like fast awake. And
Yeah.
that's the only time that I've ever had any kind of experience where it was like I could physically feel it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm going to tell you why when we get into it. Okay. That's very interesting. And now, just for everyone listening, I don't feel whatever is happening here has got to be can't be only your camera, because now it's just dark. No light is coming on you right now.
Yeah, that's
Very strange. And he has a light, just so everyone knows, behind him. Fully there, standing still. It's not going dim. It's very eerie feeling to me. I'm glad you feel good. No,
yeah, and it's odd.
uh,
I'm not seeing it unless I see it on the screen.
unless it's like face tracking. It's like move your head a little bit. Let's see what happens, just for experiment wise. Yeah. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that like nothing really
Yeah.
is changing. So it's very interesting, Paul. Okay, let's get started on this. Okay. So the first part, with the bat, I think the first part, let me just make sure I'm getting right. The migraines, right? That was where we first start. And
Hmm.
you were watching TV and you heard footsteps. Okay. I feel that this is one person. I wanted to look and see if it was, and I'm sorry to say, but I don't feel like it's your grandfather anymore. And I even get like a cold kind of breeze. So just kind of interesting. Anyway, I had that earlier too. I don't feel like this is your grandfather anymore. Sorry. The
Okay.
footsteps, I don't feel. I did see, and I still see like there's a woman for sure. And it's not just because you said the collar thing, and I'll look further, but it's just like all the things kind of add up. And she is very pretty fixated on you, but I don't feel like she's fixated on you because she knows you. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Hmm.
So we're going to get to the bottom of that. Okay. So we're coming up the stairs, and then more is there, and more sleeps through. Okay. So then don't ask me why, but a lot of the activity seems to happen around the bathroom. Okay. So then we have the thing with the door open on its own. And was that the bathroom door? I forgot to ask, that opened on its own?
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So I'm just trying to see. So the woman, it kind of reminds me, like, I get a little sick in my stomach. The woman I see is wearing like an old timey nurse uniform. It kind of reminds me of how they used to wear the hats. Like, it's so funny that me and you are both old enough to remember when they used to wear nursing hats. Like,
Yes.
I just
Hmm.
realized that is way of a thing of the past. I don't know if they did that in the 70s, but we definitely got fed that on TV. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Because I don't think I ever saw anyone in person wearing that, now that I think about it. But anyway, sorry, just got a little weird flash. Okay. But the vision I have is like it's flat, kind of goes flat, and then has like the nurse thing on the side. So it is a very old school nurse hat. She does kind of have a look of, I don't want to say sinister, but more of a, whatever is going on with her and where she worked, it wasn't a good thing.
Okay.
And this is where I get curious about the land. Now you guys have occupied this land since when?
Uh, well, Moore and I have lived here since year 2000.
But your
Uh,
family in
my
general.
family's been here since probably the, I'd say, early 30s, 1930s.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like it's around that time or if before that time. I'd have to
Now,
look up nursing outfits. Yes, go ahead.
I'm within 10 miles of two kind of notorious things
Okay,
for,
don't say, ooh, I'm just kidding. Don't say it.
okay.
I just like, and I just want everyone to know he's completely sitting in like the dark, but it's light behind him. So this is very symbolic. The lights around him, he's protected, but it is weird. There's no light on his face, and he's not like 100% in the dark. I can see you,
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm
funny. I
saying,
have a light this
right.
direction and
But
a
the
light this
vision
direction.
I'm getting of him, and I'm like, I'm like checking all my stuff. Okay. Oh my gosh. It
It
just
just went
went,
up again.
it went light again. Okay. 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 So it reminds me of an insane asylum that they used to call insane asylums. Oh, he just got a smirk on his face and an eyebrow raise.
Yep.
And that's why I just immediately got like, ugh, like this sick feeling. I don't like her. I don't like this person. So we're going to get into how to cleanse the space in this podcast.
Okay.
She kind of seems to be lost because I don't feel like she knows she's dead. She's not talking to me. So when people talk to me, then they're kind of like, and this happened and that happened, and hey, sorry about this, sorry about that. Oh, oops. But it's kind of like this little smirky smile, like she's kind of treating you like you're a patient. Okay. Now all of a sudden, okay, the
It's
light
bright.
went back on. Okay. And so I don't like this type of spirit. I'm going to tell her she died. I do feel the bathroom, and this was my first sense, is that in this bathroom, and I don't know if it really, because this may have nothing to do with your land. It could just be like you guys are now seeing things, and now people are starting to show up, and we'll have to shut that down. Like you guys were talking to the spirit world, and I'll have to go over that with you. But I feel like there's some people who took their life in that bathroom, not in that bathroom, but they're showing me in a bathroom. Like it's almost like she's kind of causing havoc in your house because there is like an energy that's been brought in that's not related to you guys personally. The other thing is that's why I feel like the doctor medicine woman came on, because
Okay.
someone's definitely communicating to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like it was when I talked to her, I'm like, you're dead and you need to know you're dead. And I literally, when you said the lapel, I forgot. That's why I forgot to tell you. While you were talking, I was like, I saw something and I was like, I don't know if I mentioned it or I kept it quiet. I said, oh, I'll just have to get into that later. But I felt like someone holding my shoulders and I was like, what are you doing? It felt like literally someone holding me down.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like what you were experiencing. She was like treating you like a patient. Oh, yuck. Right? Like, let me fix your collar. And I'm like, you're dead. Okay. Like, he doesn't need your help. So what I'm saying to her is trying to snap her out that she died. I almost feel like the reason why, that's why I said I feel like the focus is more on you than your wife, to be honest. She might have saw a couple of things, but I don't feel like the focus is so much on her than it is on you. I almost got this like weird vibe, like even this lady was treating you like, things went wrong in those settings. Like you're a mental patient, but maybe I have a crush on you, like things like that. Like not you, but what she did in that time. And she seems a little wacky. Like so, and that's how it was in those days. Like they didn't know what they were doing when it came to mental health. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. So I feel like if we kind of like talk to her and say you have passed, and I'm trying to tell her you have passed and you need to like go into your go along, and I'm calling in what I work with, which is Saint Michael, to take her into and to wake her up to realize she died. See, people sometimes don't know they're dead and they just kind of treat you. I just rewatched The Sixth Sense on Halloween with my son. Have you ever
Hmm.
watched the movie The Sixth Sense? And
Greatest movie.
he figured it out, which was really irritating. Like he was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if she's dead or maybe he's dead?" He goes, "That's probably more likely." And I was like, "God damn it." But when I watched that movie, I cried and I just felt like something touching me. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, we're going to get to this, finish this, but the point is that he kept saying to me, the little boys, like, they walk around and they only see what they want to see. He's like, "That's what you say." And the little boys, like, they don't know their dad. He kept going, "That's what you say." And I'm like, "Yes, these are the things I've taught him. So that's what's happening. And I'm kind of trying to say, like, then you have to be firm saying, leave them alone. You're dead. He's not your patient. They're not your. I don't feel like she was interested in your wife. She was definitely interested in you. And there was like a sweet on you type of thing, weird thing, trying to. So I'm asking for St. Michael, who that's who I work with, to like exit that energy and make her, wake her up and to realize she died. She's not working in this space anymore. She's not connected to you, and we can exit her out and we close the door to that, and that needs to end. So that needs to stop. So with that said, when you guys sat in the living room, one thing you got to do when you speak to the world, the spirit world, you got to be specific on only these people.
Okay.
I think I didn't tell you that enough. So by the way, the light is now on Paul. And I'm going to ask for St. Michael to take her into like an awake state, which just means you realize, oh shit, I'm dead. She's kind of like waking up out of it now. She's kind of realizing she died. It's almost like that whole place was a very traumatic place to work. Everything about it was terrible. That I feel like she might have took her life there. So that's what I think the bathroom thing's about. Okay, Paul, we got to know, because you got the smirk, you got the eyebrow raising. We got to know what you know.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever if you ever watch any of the ghost hunter shows or anything like that, but
Not
we,
really.
I live about 5 miles from Penhurst Asylum,
Okay.
um, which is one of the notorious ones. I believe it started in the 1920s and ran
That's
until
exactly, yep. I was gonna
ni-
say, because when you said, sorry to interrupt you, but I was like, it's not the 50s, because I remember the 50s like look. I feel like it was pre that, and that's why when you said the 30s, I said, yep, that's around that time. Okay, go on. Go on.
it ran until actually I was in high school until 1986 or 7, and it had started out as a normal institution, and then it got to be like a dumping ground for people that were um, either just mentally challenged or were
Yeah.
um, uh,
Severe.
severe,
Yeah.
psychotic rather than.
Psychotic, right.
And I believe the capacity of it was supposed to be 500 people, and it ended up being close to 3,000.
Okay. Oh
They
my
had
God.
it was basically just,
Piling
and
people.
there have been documentaries about it, and apparently like the staff was very dedicated, but they had no resources.
Yeah.
um, and it was horrific conditions. They did a television expose on it, and that's one of the reasons it was shut down. And when it was shut down, a lot of the patients were just kind of put on the street, and a lot of the homeless in our area are, at least were. It's been years now that it's been closed, but
Right.
were
From that.
from that. There were things like they had a dental office where if someone had bit someone, they just removed all their teeth. It was a really horrific conditions,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
and it was closed in the 80s, and then probably the last 10 years it's been a haunted attraction.
Right. And see, here's the thing, what people don't know is that when you go to places like that, they kind of feel like oh, well, no one's talking to us, no one's paying attention to us unless they, everyone comes to this place. So they kind of like everyone gathers, all the spirits gather all around. It may not even have anything to do with that place, but this particular, I feel like what happened is I when you guys were opening up yourself, you put like a little Wi-Fi, and so any spirits that kind of want to be heard find you. So from now on, you have to be very like, I'm only talking to a grandpa. That is it. Everyone else. So you say, this is a place of light. This is a place of good intention. All those, except for my grandfather, no.
Okay.
And you can get, this is for everyone listening. You can get this coal, like this is coal, and this is a canter. You don't have to do it this way, but you can get coal and resin incense. This is what I do. You burn the coal. I have videos on it on my YouTube. You can go to how to cleanse. For those of you on my Patreon, I have a video on there. And you light it, excuse me, it burns all the way across. You put it in here real quick. And some people use a tongue because they get really hot, and you drop the resin incense, which I use as Gloria, which I list everything like that on my videos. However, you don't have to even do this if you don't want. And oh, by the way, and it smokes up, and you go around the house and you cleanse and say, this is a place of light, this is a place of good intention, all those are not welcome, get out. And that's what I was saying to the woman. But you can use like stick incense, you can use a spray, but I would use like a Gloria and something like frankincense and myrrh. Those are the two that I love for cleansing. And I
Okay.
would burn it like a stick of incense every night and say, okay, it's a place of light, good intention, all those are not welcome. Please, you got to go. And that's it. So we only were meant to talk to my grandfather and maybe the people, my wife's family, and that is it. This is an open book to everybody, open door policy.
Okay.
And that's how you make sure you protect and you cleanse. But I literally got that feeling. I felt like I was in the movie, the one, Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's what it reminded me of. And I was like, oh, okay, so some things just kind of wandered over because you opened it up. And I'm sure they're like always kind of going, hey, whoever wants to talk to us. But see, when those ghost hunting shows like yell at people and stuff, they don't like that. They don't respond well to like being yelled at, but they'll respond well to people who are nice. And I feel like she found you guys and was just kind of causing havoc because I did see it was just one person this time.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did not feel good. And maybe we'll get like an explanation from Paul that maybe it's just your camera doing some weird stuff. I don't get the feeling that energy is so strong. Every time we talk about it though, it changes.
It lights up. Mm-hmm.
So there is something, but what I would say is ask your grandfather. I am talking to your grandfather. Say, hey, make sure you get any other bozos out of there. Help us out. But I would do that. I would do it even if you have any incense in the house tonight, and if you don't, then I would just use the words to kind of make that clear about this is a place of lights, place of good intention, all those, not like of my family and my wife's family. We are not interested.
Okay.
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 And if you can do me a favor and email me the name of that place so I can use pictures for people to see. And I am definitely going to be watching a documentary on it.
Yeah. I know the Ghost Hunter show and Ghost Adventures. Both of them did episodes
Yeah,
on it.
I hate those shows, Paul, because
Yep.
they're kind of lame. But if there's a true documentary, then I'm interested. If not, just
There's one on
okay,
YouTube
yeah.
I'm aware of.
Okay, sure. Awesome. And so if you can email me the name because I'll forget, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll get some pictures. I'll include that in with the posts on Instagram and everything, and links to the YouTube documentary on my YouTube and on Instagram. But I feel a lot better now because it did feel a little weird. And you were right to feel uncomfortable this time because this is definitely more invasive.
Okay.
We're going to shut it down.
Okay. Great.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on again.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so, yep. Soon as he kept saying Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, I went to I wonder if it's like a doctor or something. But I had this feeling that something was like shaking me or holding me down, and I did not like it. It felt like being held down. And when he said the thing about the collar, it really matched what I was feeling. The weird thing is, the whole time we were recording, I don't know. Any of you could maybe tell it, is it a camera issue or not? I know we have some camera people that do that kind of work, but it kept going like light and dark and light. I don't know why that was happening. It was very strange. But I definitely felt like this woman, I could see her, and it was really creepy because it definitely looked like it was from the 20s. It was exactly the time that we were saying, and it was a nurse, and it was an insane asylum. And if you didn't watch this, if you're listening, as soon as I said insane asylum, Paul's eyebrows went up, his little smirk went like, yep, I know what that is. And I was like, okay. So he did say, in his email that him and his wife was like, hey, listen, we just want to talk to these people. We don't want to talk to these other people. But I still felt like I needed to get him to cleanse it and kind of really make it clear, like, who they are willing to talk to and not talk to. You do have to do that with the spirit world. You have to be like very firm. You can't let go at all. You have to put your foot down in a very strong way when it comes to them. So I felt like this woman kind of knew she died, but she didn't. It's hard to explain. It's like she kind of knew and she didn't. It was very weird. She just had this feeling of like she wanted to like mess with Paul, but not because she was just trying to be random and mess with him. It was kind of like she was kind of like replaying something and thought that it was like real to her, but I feel like she knew something wasn't right. So kind of imagine like how a human being's like, something's off, something feels off. I can't put put my finger on it. And then a doctor's like, you know what? There is something off. You have this going on with you. That I have said this before, but that's how I feel whenever I talk to spirits who kind of don't realize they died. They know something's off, and then I kind of disrupt them and alarm them like, this is what's going on. You need to wake up and see, and we need to make these changes. And they're like, oh, damn, okay. But it definitely had like a weird vibe, and I didn't like it. I will say this. There's a lot of things that don't bother me about the spirit world, a lot of things. But in the human world, I don't like people who are that are not, clear in their mind and having those kind of issues that are really like they're not seeing me. And I don't like spirits like that so much either, but they're actually easier to deal with than the physical world. So I rather deal with them in that world, not calling it to me, but they're easier than in the physical world when someone just gets into your sphere and you're like, you're not all the way here. And spirits can be the same. That's what we call ghosts. Ghosts are spirits that don't realize that they're dead and they're kind of walking around. Speaking of which, I want to end it with this. I talked about this with Paul, that I tried to do the sixth sense thing. And I will say that I cry every time because I completely relate to that little boy. That was me 100%. I even cry when the guy who's telling him, hey, you said you were going to help me, and I just don't want people to think I'm a freak. And this happened to me. So I'm going to share this story on my podcast. On my Patreon. I decided to share it on my Patreon of something that happened to me, and it's going to be on my classes, and I might do a little bit, in the speed readings. The reason why there's something, let's just put it this way. My next class on my Patreon is going to be about teaching how to protect and how to ward in real time, because I was at Disneyland and I had an incident that happened. And the reason why I don't want to share it, the full story on the podcast, is because even though this person who did what they did towards me wasn't coming from a good place, I still feel like they weren't a bad person. And I just don't I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable blasting someone. But I will say this. They did something that was not right. and it was at Disneyland. And if they are someone who has problems with children, they should maybe not be at Disneyland. And I had to do a little magic, and it worked very well. And I'm going to be sharing that on my Patreon because it's going to be the next class I'm posting, which is about how to ward off people. I'm going to say it in a way that I want people to know how to use magic to ward people off in real time, meaning like not like over time, like in the moment. So I'm going to have to like explain this class and give it a title that makes it more clear. I might have to use AI to help me out into what to call it because I can't get the words right. But basically, it was right in that moment where I had to do some magic too. And I will say that when I did that, it does feel like when I tell people I did this, and even though they witness it, I'm like, do you think I'm weird? Do you think I'm a freak? And that's why I relate to that little boy so much. And with that said, still wave your freak flag as high as you can. That is why I do this podcast. That is why I do my Patreon. That's why I do classes. That is why I post the videos. That's why I mentor, by the way, one-on-one with people who really want to hone their abilities or learn what their abilities are. That is why I do all these things. Don't be afraid to be yourself. We are moving into a time we are going to be living on our true self. And that is our collective conscious expansion where we are going. It's time. Follow yourself. Follow no one. Listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.